Hello everyone, CrystalFissure here. Today I'm back with a real life video. I haven't done one of these for what seems like really a long time, like at least a couple months. And the reason I wanted to do it is I wanted to talk about a recent press release from Activision, which I know seems like something that is kind of, it's like, okay, a press release, who cares? Is there any new, nitro-fueled information? Is there any new Spyro game announcements? And the answer is no. But rather, the wording of this press release is very interesting, and I kind of want to talk about it. It's kind of an excuse to talk about the future of the Crash and Spyro series. So, basically, there's what is like an Activision Blizzard consumer products group. They're returning to a licensing expo with a focus on esports, brand collaborations, and global license programs. So, basically, it's a press release. And it's from Vegas, and basically there is this thing called the Activision Blizzard Consumer Products Group. They've arrived at this expo, and basically they're talking about franchises, their big franchises. So obviously we know that the way in which Spyro and Crash have been positioned in the past is that, internally we heard that they were essentially a cool thing. Oh, cool, we're doing Spyro and Crash, but we're doing the remasters. Let's see how they go. I'm sure they'll do decently. Of course, they put the time into them, and, they were released. Crash comes out first. Crash does really well. Allegedly, that spurs on Spyro. Spyro was, of course, as we all know, this is just a matter of fact, was not given enough time. They really should have had confidence. They should have looked at the demand in like late 2016 and seen that with Crash, they should have started really at the start of 2017. But instead, according to a video that came out about the development, which I'll link in the description, they really didn't start until later. But the point is that they still, by giving them that extra time as well, you could see that they had faith in Spyro as a product as well. So you have Spyro and Crash now out as HD remakes. So they both exceeded expectations. They both did very, very well. You've got Crash on the Switch and the PS4 and the Xbox One and the PC. And then you've got Spyro on the Xbox One and the PS4 with a patent, apparently, trademark, or like a classification board rating the PC version, which should be, I'm hearing, as we did in that video a few months back, apparently August. So that's going to be interesting. So anyway, the article talks about all this stuff, and what it brings up is, this is the paragraph that I find interesting. Since its inception, ABC PG remains steadfast in its efforts to drive global growth and engagement for Activision Blizzard's flagship brands, including Activision's Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, and Blizzard's Overwatch and World of Warcraft. So basically what they've done here is they've paired Spyro and Crash together. They've got Call of Duty as the number one, the top billing. Everyone knows that is the top billing for Activision. But then you've got Blizzard's Overwatch and World of Warcraft. So Blizzard kind of covers Overwatch and World of Warcraft. I thought Activision did Hearthstone as well, and they also published Sekiro, which I actually got to see when I went to the Activision offices. That's pretty crazy. I've never actually played it, but I saw some stuff and I saw some graphics, and this event they did, it was crazy. Anyway, point is that they've now bundled Spyro and Crash in as the second franchise there. Now, obviously this is like one of those classic, English teacher analyzing everything sort of article where it's like, where you think, okay, what does this really mean? Like, does this really matter? The answer is yes, it does really matter, because we're seeing, and in the graphic as well that was produced, you'll see that Spyro is everywhere. You've got Spyro, actually both capacities. There's two different screenshots from. Yeah, actually, there's a bunch of screenshots from Nitro Fuel, or like sort of graphics, and then there's two different Spyro graphics. Anyway, here it is up on the screen. But the point is that I think that now, finally, people are going to see that Spyro and Crash are treated seriously by Activision. They are no longer just a nostalgia cash cow from the original 2 game, or the original 6 games that came out, as Reignited and not Nitro Fuel, of course, but Sane Trilogy. I believe genuinely that we are going to get new Spyro and Crash content. So, talking about Nitro Fueled specifically, why I think that is a great thing for the series is if you remember initially, I remember I left a few comments, maybe barely anyone really saw them, but when they first announced Nitro Fueled, I wasn't over the moon. I was one of those people that's like, yeah, cool, but I kind of want more Crash, you know, like purely platforming Crash. That was before I knew that Beanox was working on it. When I saw Beanox working on it, sort of not alarm bells, that sounds bad. Happy alarm bells went off, thinking, okay, so Beanox are working on it. What does that mean that Vicarious Visions are doing? Now, I can almost guarantee that in the credits we're going to see, you know, additional help from Vicarious Visions, probably Toys for Bob, because these Activision studios kind of work together. Spyro, of course, got a significant amount of help, especially with 2 and 3, with Sanzara Games basically doing 3, which is impressive, even though it was clearly rushed. It's still an impressive job that they were able to get that much done. But you see that as it went on, we started to see these announcements from Nitro Fueled where it's like, okay, you're not just giving us Crash Team Racing, which would be okay, but let's be honest, we've all played Crash Team Racing extensively. Or I know that most of my subscribers or you guys, you've played it, right? Like, we all know what Crash Team Racing is. Less people have played Nitro Kart. No one has played Nitro Kart with the engine of CTR. So obviously they did the engine from scratch, but as I can attest, I've played the game. It plays like 99.9% as good as Crash Team Racing. In some ways I actually prefer it because you get the extra widescreen. But anyway, the point is that Nitro Kart, no one's ever played it in a Crash Team Racing style because the engine was different for Nitro Kart. Then we get the announcement of the different karts, the different customization options. And you also get the fact that we actually get, Crash Tag Team Racing cards and potentially Tag Team Racing, what's it called? Potentially characters, maybe tracks. We don't really know. I'd say it's likely we get the characters because of the sidebar thing with the scroll. But the point more so is, before I ramble on, we're actually getting an experience that is superior to the original from a customization and gameplay perspective, options. Like a Mario Kart game, like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate game, where you actually get, all this content in one, which is what we need. Because if you're just rehashing the past entirely, like you're giving nothing new, you're providing nothing different, it's just essentially just CTR on the PS4. Why do we need it, But the point is that we're getting more. And so that brings me to what I think the future of Spyro is going to be and the future of Crash. I genuinely believe that with Vicarious Visions not really extensive, not being the lead developer on this game, and some interesting job application stuff you'll see where, experience an Unreal Engine and stuff like that, I genuinely believe that as of right now, Activision have commissioned another Crash game, a Crash 4, if you will, and it'll be coming out probably not next year, but I reckon the year after, which basically gives us 2 to 3 years potentially of development time on this project. And this is the thing that people forget, and I think Canadian Guy, I think Jordan Fringe have said similar things in their videos in the past, and I echo these sentiments. I was thinking the exact same thing. When you have Spyro come out, and you've got to do 3 games in a year, that's a lot. That's a lot. 3 games done by a series of developers in a year. That's quick. Especially something as advanced as Spyro. Crash may be less so, but we saw that they probably got more time than Spyro did. Crash, the same thing. Doing 3 games in one is intense. Now, what we're going to get with a theoretical Crash, a new Crash, a Crash 4, is we're going to get 1 game, right? Let's say, theoretically, the same amount of levels, maybe 30, 35 levels. You think about what they can do. You think about the customization they can do as well. Because one thing with Crash is that everyone loves to go, okay, they tried to do open world, it didn't really work. I mean, it wasn't really open world, if you know what I mean. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't properly open world. But the point is that we saw it in Twinsanity, and people argued it didn't really work. I guess you could say the same. You could say Might of a Mutant was open world. We saw it, and it didn't really work very well. But there can be a middle ground that I think that what we're going to see is, in the future, is Vicarious Visions will implement that. One example of where I think that they did a really good middle ground was actually the way that the gameplay worked in Wrath of Cortex. Now, everyone loves to trash Wrath of Cortex. I just made that up, but I'm sure someone said it before. Wrath of Cortex is a great example of where they actually implement different gameplay concepts in the same level. Now, of course, they did that once with the jet ski kind of thing in Crash 2, but then Crash 3, each level you just got one thing and that was it, right? You basically you did the level, you did the what's it called, like the motorbike or something like that. With Crash, for example, you'd start the level in the submarine and then you jump out. I can guarantee you that we are going to get level concepts like that merge platforming with the non-traditional vehicles style of warped. And that is what is exciting to me about Crash. Not necessarily getting this open world, but what they could do is kind of have it in a way that's similar to tag team racing, if anything, where it's kind of like a hub world level in which you then enter the levels, kind of like I think they did that in Rayman 2 Revolution as well. I've still haven't played Rayman Revolution. I own it, but I haven't played it since I played it at a friend's house literally a decade ago. But the point is that you could kind of have a warp room concept, but kind of advance it. Like Crash can expand. A lot of people think, oh, can Crash expand? Does it have to just be the exact same formula, kind of like a Mega Man game, or where they just do the same thing over and over and over again? No, they don't have to. They can keep the core concept. Spyro as well is a classic example of where they can expand it. I think people have seen that when they tried to do something different, it didn't entirely work, with Legend of Spyro and this kind of the flights and what was it called? Hero's Tale, Twinsanity, etc., etc. But with Spyro, what you can do is you can reintroduce different breaths. You can introduce different abilities, but as long as you're not rushing the game like Enter the Dragonfly or to a lesser extent, Hero's Tale, people will accept those little changes. I think that back in the day, everyone was so focused on innovation, and you had games like Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank and Sly coming along and doing something kind of different. And so that made Spyro look a lot more dated in comparison. Whereas nowadays, in this, nostalgic sort of revival, you can implement these different features that are not that much different to the original, but different enough to where people will be like, oh, I like this. I like the fact that you can add there more levels with an ice breath, or there are more levels with a this breath, or there are more levels with this gameplay character. Spyro 3, of course, birthed the whole play as multiple characters thing. You could kind of scale that back a touch in a theoretical Spyro 4, but there's so much they can do, and I think that Toys for Bob, not having their own restriction, not having the restriction of what the original game was, and same with Vicarious Visions, we could potentially see a Crash and Spyro 4 that may be better than the original games. Will they be? I don't know. But the point is that they have the potential, and I think they're going to have the freedom to be able to do more what they want. There was a thing you may have seen a few months ago, maybe a month ago I think it was, about a new game concept being tested in the background of a shot, or they blurred a bunch of stuff out, heavily rumored to be Spyro, because someone saw the Unreal Engine in the background, and the Canadian guy found that as well. And so that's very interesting that they would be working on it now, and it would if the fact that Crash and Spyro are being paired together as franchises in videos, it means that you'd probably get 1 year Crash, 1 year Spyro, 1 year Crash, 1 year Spyro, etc., etc., etc. So that is a very, very smart business strategy, as opposed to the Guitar Hero way or the Tony Hawk's way, which Activision previously milked the hell out of, where you got one every single year, every year, and it basically created burnout, it created the less demand. Whereas Spyro and Crash they're different enough, but they're associated to where you could play one a year, and it wouldn't feel like, oh my god, every 2 years I got a new Spyro game, this is ridiculous, I'm skipping out. With things like Call of Duty, fans are hardcore enough to where they'll play a new game every year. I think that, interestingly enough, with how Fortnite's done, that's kind of cannibalized that market a little bit. That's beside the point. But with Crash and Spyro, you can play one every 2 years conceivably. Other thing I want to bring up, the last thing I want to bring up, is the death of the Skylanders series. Now, believe it or not, this does not bring me great joy. You know, obviously, I was one of the most anti-Skylanders guys you'll see on the planet when it, when it was released, and just seeing Spyro being butchered, and Spyro being, it's not Spyro, why would you have him? And my beef with Skylanders has never been the game itself. Like, I've trashed the game, but it's the fact that Spyro is part of it when he never needed to be. They could have sold it fine without it. And now what's happened is Spyro and Crash have proved to be so popular that it's actually killed Skylanders. That is my personal opinion. This is not a fact, but this is an opinion. Much of this video is. But what's interesting is they cancelled the Netflix series, which was actually people liked. People that were kind of skeptical about Spyro and Crash, because Crash was in it a little bit, actually liked it. And that's kind of the sad thing, is that they've killed that franchise. You see, there hasn't been a new Skylanders game since Imaginators, like a mainline game. I believe that it will be pretty much relegated to online games like they have now. There was a project that came out last year, I believe. But the point is that Skylanders is not mentioned anywhere with the franchise. It used to be mentioned in the same sentence as Call of Duty and Overwatch and stuff. And World of Warcraft. It used to be actually part of that whole thing. It was a major franchise. Now it's not. The toys to life genre has slowly died. I think there is a future for Skylanders on the mobile games, but the point is that Crash and Spyro are back. They won the war. The Legend of Spyro, no one's talking about that apart from a few people on Reddit, but they will never bring that back. I can almost guarantee it. And in terms of remakes, they've really hit it all. They've hit a wall. There's nothing they can really do. People are saying, do Enter the Dragonfly, do Twinsanity. They can't, they won't. Their desire is based on a game that, basically what they are is that, it's not that they're awful games, but people have put in their head that they need to be the finished version with the cut content added. Therefore, it's not really the same game. It's not really an Enter the Dragonfly. Why don't you just use some concepts from those games and Twinsanity and use it in your new game? So there will not be any more remasters, and if there is, unless it's some mega game where you're getting like literally the 30 level version of Enter the Dragonfly or the 40 level version of Twinsanity, it's not going to satisfy consumers for the most part. It's not going to be good for me. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't think you guys deep down are. Crash Bash is another topic entirely. I don't know. I mean, look, Crash Bash is a freaking difficult game. I don't know, that's just not, it's not an easy game. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't think we're going to get it. The remake police are out there. They're on Twitter. You know who you are. But anyway, guys, 18-minute rambling video aside, I hope you enjoyed that. Mainly just sort of speculation, a bit of fun. You get back in front of the camera again. That is I don't know how to point that thing there. That is a mat that I do like stuff on now, so it kind of looks like I've got like a red screen or something like that. It's like you can do like a floor press and all that with the dumbbells. But yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun. Thank you so much for watching, though, guys. Oh, shake. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll be back very soon. Actually, I will end it on this, that you may see a Crash Team Racing Nitro Field video very soon. Maybe going back to Sydney for something, so I'll keep my lips sealed. But yeah, look forward to that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.